Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Got a good show ahead for you today, folks. Of course, later on in the program, we've got Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. Beer City Bruiser will join us for that. But first, got to tell you about this book I read this past weekend. I was absolutely enthralled with it. I tell you, sat down and I read The Applicant by Rebecca Hanover. And it's a little bit different than what we normally tackle here on True Crime Tuesday, but it was different in a good way. It had me kind of gripped the entire time. As I'm reading it, I'm really into the characters in this book because these characters, even though they're in a world that I'm not normally used to, and by the way, this is a fictional work here, but these characters that I'm not normally used to and they're not in my world grab me. They just grabbed me, brought me in. And I was with this book the entire way. In fact, I didn't even put it down. I sat down, read this book the entire way through in one sitting, which I don't normally do. This isn't normally my bag to sit down and read a book all the way through in one sitting. So really, I got to tip my cap to Rebecca before we bring her on here and just say that this was one of those books that I didn't want to put down. I wanted to stay with it, and I wanted to find out about these characters and find out where it was going because of the twists and turns. And not everything is what it seems in this book, which I absolutely love. I love the duality of different characters in this book, The Applicant. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest before we bring her on. Rebecca Hanover is the New York Times bestselling author of The Similars duology. After graduating from Stanford University with a BA in English and Drama, Rebecca joined the writing team of the CBS daytime drama Guiding Light, where she earned an Emmy Award. Still, she never lost her love for books, particularly young adults. She now writes young adult as well as adult novels full-time from her home in San Francisco, where she enjoys matcha lattes and a complete lack of seasons. We may have to talk about that. I love my seasons. I know she doesn't like winter. That's probably the reason she's in San Francisco. When she isn't writing, she can be found in a yoga class or reading anything with her husband and 3 kiddos. Let's bring her in right now. Rebecca, welcome to True Crime Tuesday.
Thank you so much. That was such a wonderful introduction, and it's great to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. You know, first of all, I got to bring up the lack of seasons thing here. I know San Francisco is wonderful in the summer because it's not too hot. And of course, you get a lack of winter there as well. Why the lack of seasons, Rebecca? What is it about the lack of seasons that turns you on so much?
What's wrong with me? Yeah, and as you're asking this, I'm remembering that we are going to go to Tahoe this winter, in the upcoming holidays for a little snow. And
okay.
For sure. But yeah, it's just, it's like always between 60 and 75 here. Sometimes it creeps up to 80 or 90. We've had more of that lately, as we all know, the weather's getting so wonky everywhere. But I love that I don't have to think about it. I don't have to change out my, closet to sweaters. You sort of always need a sweater. Any day of the week, you could need a sweater, or you might, need short sleeves, and you just always have your layers, and just kind of makes life simple. But I know it's sort of funny. And I do miss, I love going to the East Coast and seeing the leaves changing and that sort of stuff. So I do miss it a little bit. Okay, I'm kind of kidding, but
I hear you.
Well, it works for me. It works for me.
It does. What's interesting is you have set this book, The Applicant, on the East Coast and in New York in particular. Is there still a love of New York there for you?
Yes. 100%. Yes, I lived there in my 20s for 7-8 years. And I had always dreamed. I was born in, grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. And I always, which is such a cool place, honestly, with so much, really cool artistic. It's the home of the blues, and it's a really, really neat city. But I had always sort of dreamed of one day living in New York City. I loved theater and was like a English and drama major. And I just thought New York is where it's at. New York is the epicenter of everything. So I fulfilled my dream of moving there, and, totally lived in like a 6th floor walk up that was like an old tenement building, and had to drag my laundry, from the laundromat up all these flights. And it was, totally living that sort of struggling early 20s life. But it was so worth it because that city is just so vibrant. And
when you compare living in New York to the romantic image of living in New York, what are the differences for you? Was it worth it, or did you find it harder than what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, so it's not Sex in the City, because as we all know, Carrie Bradshaw's apartment, like that never would have worked out. She never could have afforded all those shoes, like, obviously. It's a little more like that show Girls, although that was romanticized too. So the reality is it's hard. Yeah. I mean, it's so expensive. Everyone there is pursuing something, art, writing, acting, and that's what makes it so incredible. But it's hard. It's a hard life. And I mean, I have no regrets. I absolutely loved it, but you really have to take the good and the bad, and it was worth it for me, but not without a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of like, I'm going to eat ramen kind of, mentality just to make it work.
I heard an interesting interview recently that talked about, with you being in California, and San Francisco has a little bit more of a laid back vibe, but he was talking about LA and the difference between New York and LA. The fact that, he had lived in New York for a long time. This is an entertainer, moved to LA and thought New York was the place you went to grind and do that entertainment thing and make waves and make moves. Then he moved to LA and realized LA was the place you went in order to make those moves. And that New York, although there's hustle and bustle and people are moving, it's really LA is where you go to make your mark in entertainment. But I'm curious because, you worked on Guiding Light. You won an Emmy working on Guiding Light in New York. Did you feel like New York was more of a center of getting things done and you moved to the West Coast to kind of wind down a little bit, but still keep your foot in entertainment? How did it work for you in your career?
That's a great question. And I'm nodding along because I absolutely agree with what he said. I think New York, it's the vibes of New York and LA are so different. And New York almost has this, like you said, this feeling of like hard work and intensity and hustling and bustling. Whereas in LA, on the surface, it looks like everyone's kind of chilling out, right? But they are actually making all those connections. And I think like the networking and just I think LA is absolutely the epicenter for entertainment. And so I agree with that. I think New York, it's different. I mean, New York is where like every actor who came on Guiding Light had been in theater, and every, it's a much smaller world in a way. It's so much talent though. So it's different. I would say it's different. I came out to San Francisco, for my husband's work. And, then I have 3 kids. They're 12, 9, and 4. And so for us, it was like, there were so many parts of that decision, like a lifestyle decision. So yeah, I mean, for me, New York is where it's at because it just all elements of the city are so incredible. I love the subway and the walkability and all that kind of stuff. I do have a great fondness for LA as well. But I think you were asking me about working on Guiding Light there. And so it went off the air in 2009, as did many of the soaps. So there are fewer of those shows left now overall. And there's obviously fewer in New York to provide jobs for writers and actors and crew members, which is sad. Like the soaps, most of them just didn't make it over the hump into streaming, even though we were all hoping that they would. I mean, Guiding Light it was the oldest running TV show. It was like, it started in radio. Then it got switched over to TV. And Erna Phillips, who created it, was this incredible woman. And I mean, it was really, she was a pioneer, and it was like really legendary. But for me, it was just a dream job. I loved every minute of working on that show and I started off as an intern, was very fortunate to get a writer's assistant job. And then I started learning from the writers who were so talented and incredible mentors. And then ultimately got to start writing. And that is where I really honed my storytelling skills. Just off the bat, it's it is in its own way like a boot camp. And there's 5 hours of TV per week that we had to create. And if you think about compared to like a streaming show that might have like 10 episodes the whole season, you just have to be so efficient. And this is why actors on soaps can do it in one take. Like they don't, they're so efficient and don't mess up. And we would actually have guest like cameo type actors who came from primetime and would need so many more takes. And they'd say, how are you guys doing this? Like, I need another take to get my line. And then the soap actors would say, like, this is what we have to do. This is the job, Let
me ask you this. Now, I want to talk about continuity for a second, because this seems to me like it might be an issue, not necessarily with writers, but maybe even with actors, and maybe the struggle between both. Like you said, you're putting out 5 hours of content per week. So that's a lot of lines. I don't think people realize how many lines that is, how much content that is that you're putting out. Is there ever come a time when you're writing on a serial like that, when an actor comes up to you and goes, well, I know my character wouldn't say this. And, oh, by the way, did you remember that I did this, 6 months ago, and that wouldn't be what this character would do because I did this 6 months ago, and you could probably go this direction with my character. And you go, oh, yeah, wait. Because you're writing for so many people that you go, oh, yeah, that's right. You wouldn't have done that because you did do that.
Yes.
Is it get to a point where continuity, I know like in radio, we have continuity directors, and TV, we have continuity directors. Do soap operas have continuity directors?
Yes. Fantastic question. You're so right. There were, I would say, I don't want to misspeak because I know there was a producing job that worked on continuity, which was, as you say, super important. It also flowed through all the pieces. Like we literally had this continuity tracking document when I was an assistant, that my job every week would be to like write up a short synopsis of every scene and have, track like even things like who entered first, like, who came into the shot first and then who left and who was there. And I don't think we noted what they were wearing, but like little details that were the kind of things you could easily, forget and mess up. So it started there, and then it sort of ran through, the script editor would be looking for those things. Then, the assistant director, the director at the day of the shooting. And yes, actors all the time brought things up. And I think it was fairly easy to incorporate those changes if it's something that comes up before the scene gets shot. But of course, there was this, one of the soap opera magazines had a column called Picky Picky. And my husband always laughed and like loved to look at that because there would be picky pickies, like just things that were messed up. And of course, I mean, it happens on every show out there, but
I'm sure
you're right. There was more opportunity for that to happen because there's so much more material, but fans are pretty forgiving and it was okay. But yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't track all of that.
Yeah. No, but actors were amazing they often would know of course, especially actors who'd been playing the role for so many years, like they knew their character best and they could say, hey, this isn't quite right. I have a fix though. Can we change it to this? And then that would be super helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you one question about something you had said previously that, and then we can move on. Soap operas didn't quite make it that jump to streaming, or didn't quite get to that jump with streaming. But I find that curious, and this is why. I mean, back in the day, I think most of us, maybe even in high school or college, we'd come home and there's soap operas on TV, and you'd go, you know what, I'm kind of getting into the soap opera. I don't know why. Mine was General Hospital. I don't know why it was, but I got into it and watched it for a while, and with the Cassidines and everything, and I got into that deal when Elizabeth Taylor was on and all that. And I think we all at one time or another got hooked on a soap opera for a time, and then we watched it and went, oh, you know what? Yeah, you got into Young and the Restless, or you got into Guiding Light, or you got into General Hospital, but to me, it seems like it would be the perfect thing with so many streamers out there to grab a few of these different soap operas and put them on, because there's so much room for content. And to put some of these soap operas on, you don't necessarily have to produce as many episodes anymore, but to have quality episodes. To me, it seems like a slam dunk. In your opinion, why? Why didn't they transfer those over to streamers?
Great question. And I wholeheartedly agree. It seems like such a miss to not have taken advantage of that. I think I have a pretty limited knowledge of, what went on behind the scenes there, but I think it was definitely, it was floated, it was attempted. I think there were a few streamers who definitely came in and tried. I mean, there might have even been a soap or two that did end up on a streamer. I don't know the details exactly, but the point being, yes, a lot of people agreed with you and tried to make it happen. Mm-hmm. I think it probably was just, it's so difficult to manage budgets, expectations of, actors who may, the actors, writers, crew, there's guild minimums and just so many complicated factors to it that maybe they just couldn't make a deal work. I think ultimately that's kind of what happened. Maybe it became too complicated to kind of lift this end, because it's so much, it's this entity. It's this living, breathing thing with a legacy of, so many different moving parts. So it probably, my sense is that everyone wanted it to happen and it just failed.
No, it's too bad. It's too bad.
I know, bummer. I totally agree.
Yeah. When you moved on from Guiding Light, which, by the way, you won an Emmy, I've got to ask you this much: when you win an Emmy, what's that like? To win an illustrious award when you're holding that statue in your hand, is it a feeling like I've done it when you win an illustrious award like that in your field? What is that feeling?
I mean, I'm smiling just remembering. Yeah, I mean, of course, it was such an amazing moment in time. So our head writer was the one who accepted the award, and we all got to go up on stage. But he was holding the Emmy, and we did all later get our own Emmy.
Okay.
I keep mine over on a shelf, and my kids like to be like, "My mom won this award." But yeah, he got to hold it and give the speech and all that. And honestly, I was the youngest member of the writing team. So I was just along for the ride. I was like, I can't believe I'm even here. Honestly, it was just such a dream. Really surreal. And we didn't necessarily think we were going to win. I mean, you never in that position really think you're going to win. It seems like such a crapshoot and it's going to, who knows? But yes, it was totally, I remember when they announced it and then we were all like, oh my God, we have to get up from our seat. We gotta go up there. And then we're, I don't even remember. I remember standing up and then suddenly I was up on the stage. I don't even remember how I got there. Yes, surreal. Surreal would be the best word for it. And, I'm just so proud of the work that we were doing. It was really, really special. Again, I never would have known if I weren't working on a soap, how much blood, sweat, and tears goes into it and how much everyone just cares so much about these stories and these characters. So it was it is truly a team effort, although led by our very talented head writers who they're the ones coming up with the overarching story and it trickled down to us and then we would write our different various episodes, but they really were leading that.
Well, you go from writing for other established characters now to wanting to develop characters of your own. You go into the young adult section of writing fiction. What is it that made you, first of all, want to get into the young adult section of books or writing for young adults? What was that passion to go to that particular section of books?
Yeah. So around the time that I lived in New York in my 20s, that was the time of Hunger Games, Divergent, Twilight, all of those stories that I just, Harry Potter, I just ate those up. I felt like I sort of found this, and I think a lot of people felt the same way, obviously, tons and tons of people. But for me, as a 20-something, it was interesting because I wasn't a teen anymore, but I just I felt like I found a community, almost like these incredible stories, and then all these people who also felt the same way about them. And I would just go to the Barnes and Noble, or I think there was a Borders at Astor Place. I can't remember if it was Barnes and Noble or Borders, but like I would just walk around looking at the book. I remember actually Lemony Snicket came, and I think I heard him give a speech. I mean, this was like 20 years ago, but I found this like real love for those stories. And kind of had this in the way back of my head, kind of had this dream that maybe I would one day try to write one. But it didn't happen until Guiding Light, ended. And then I had a kid or two and sort of pivoted in terms of what, my writing was going to look like, both practically and then just thinking about what creatively I wanted to do. And so I sort of said, okay, this is the time. I'm going to try to write a YA series. And then it took a long time. I mean, it was like 5 years later, I think I shopped it around and found an agent and a publisher, probably more than 5 years from when I first had the idea. And that's kind of how it came to be. And it felt really meant to be like, okay, I think this was the right thing for me, like creatively. So, and then this book, The Last Applicant, obviously is adult. Mm-hmm. And that was born, I mean, really both my YA series and this book were born out of just a true love and passion for the genre. And I devour these books. I'm a huge fan of obviously YA, but now, Ruth Ware and, we all loved Gone Girl, and that set off a whole ripple effect, so I had the idea for this book and just felt really compelled to write it.
It's a very interesting premise. And I tell you what, why don't we take our break right here? When we come back, let's talk about The Last Applicant and the fact that we're now getting into the private school system, Easton School in New York. And we're getting into the upper crust of society in New York, which I found very fascinating because I want to kind of talk to you as to where you pull those characters from, where you pull that feeling for the upper crust of New York, and how you draw us into that world. Because I tell you, that's kind of a trap in a little bit of a way, Rebecca, to automatically either create a connect or a disconnect with a reader. But you managed to create a connect with people. You managed to draw them in. So I kind of want to figure out how you did that. And I want to talk to you about that with our audience here when we come back. The book is The Last Applicant, a novel by Rebecca Hanover. We have a link in the description of this program. I want you to go get it, folks. This is an intriguing novel. I tell you, like I said, I sat down in one sitting and read this book. I was intrigued with the characters in this book. You may say to yourself, well, really, a private school and an applicant to a private school? What's this got to do with crime, Tim? I'll tell you, these characters have their own little twists and are a little bit twisted. I'll put it that way. And we'll explain when we come back. Rebecca Hanover is our guest right here on The Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to The Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is Rebecca Hanover. She is the author of The Last Applicant, a novel. And we have a link to it in the description of this program. I encourage you to go get it right now. Rebecca, when we left people, we were talking about The Last Applicant, the fact that it is set in the upper crust of New York. It is set around a private school named Easton Academy. And this Easton Academy is not just impossible to get into, but it is the gold standard as far as private schools go, and only the best of the best get in. And once you get in, it is, let's just say, it's got some impossible standards to live up to. And we're centered around Audrey Singer, who is the director of admissions at Easton. And we're centered around her best friend, Chippy, who's also working in the admissions department. And she's got a husband, Luke, who is a photographer, a great artist in what he does. And we're introduced to some of the other characters in the book as well. And I have to ask you this off the bat, Rebecca, and that's this. My first thought when I started to dig into this book is, oh boy, there's a huge challenge here. And that's this. You're bringing me into a world that there's a lot of people that can't relate to this world. So how are you going to grab them and how are you going to keep them? Was that your first thought when you sat down to write this? Or what was your first thought by casting this world out there?
Great question. I'm so thrilled that you read it so quickly. That's the highest compliment for any mystery or thriller writer. So thank you for saying that. Yes. So it's so interesting you ask that. I should rewind maybe to first kind of explain how the idea came to me, which was, so I live in San Francisco. I have 3 kids. We've been through some much lower level scale of, applying for preschools and kindergarten and that kind of thing. It's not nearly the same here as it is in New York. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely this intensive parenting, thing that's kind of happening around the country. I did not coin that term. There's a great Atlantic article about intensive parenting. There's also snowplow parenting, where you push the obstacles out of the way of your kid. This is all the sort of new version of helicopter parenting, basically. Okay. Which was kind of when I was a kid. I think my parents were, sorry, mom and dad, but I think they were some of the more, original OG helicopter parents. But now, that was nothing. Like, if you were a helicopter parent back then, you didn't let your kid wander the streets all night and made them come home and had extracurriculars and made sure they did their homework. It was, fairly basic. Mm-hmm. Now things have gone to, insane levels with, I hear about an 8-year-old playing soccer with a hidden earpiece so that she can be coached by her dad, while she's, stuff like that, where it's just next level. Right.
Really?
So yeah, people, I think this all genuinely comes from a place of everyone wants the best for their kids. And parenting is a verb now, right? To parent, so everyone's making choices based on setting their kids up for success, wanting to make sure they don't miss out on opportunities. I've had someone say to me, I just want my child to try every extracurricular at least once, because what if it's, what if they're meant to be the next, I don't know, insert, famous athlete here. And
sure.
They just never picked up the racket. So they never got the, and it's wow. Okay. I get it. I'm not immune to this myself either. I completely understand the kind of, fever around this. But I'm extremely interested in kind of deconstructing it. Right. Mm-hmm. And really thinking about what all this means and what's actually even good for our kids and what's harmful. So anyway, long story short, I was having coffee with a friend who wanted advice on preschool admissions, which basically was, me telling her what the different preschools were and how to apply to them. And my mind wandered. I'm sorry to the friend, because I started thinking about what, and this mythical admissions director character, and what would happen if someone got so desperate, a parent, that they actually stalked the admissions director and took things to the next level, or, up several levels.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't get the idea out of my head. But to answer your question, I knew this had to take place in Manhattan. I knew that it's just the epicenter of many things, but certainly the epicenter of this, competitiveness and some of these uber wealthy families who have so much, privilege and ability to send their kids to these types of schools. And I just knew that it had to take place there, or the story just wouldn't work. So as soon as I realized that, I also realized, and I'm going to say this without any spoilers, but you'll know what I'm talking about. But I knew that the mom, Sarah Price, who was going to be the one stalking the admissions director, I knew there had to be more to her story than just someone who's just wants the spot at the kindergarten so badly, because that's, sure, we might be semi, empathetic to that, but I knew there had to be deeper layers that we could peel apart and kind of, get to the core of the onion and see what was really happening for these characters. Because ultimately the book is about so much more than just what it seems on the surface. And that was really important to me, that I had to find those places to go.
Yeah.
So I guess the answer is that I hoped that with the right character work and character development, and showing the cracks in the characters, like Audrey seems like she's got this perfect life, but then we start to wonder if that's really true. Mm-hmm. And, what are her insecurities? What is she, how does she view herself? And is that confidence, is it a performance of it? So I hoped that once I started to really delve into those elements of the characters, that people would want to be along for the ride with them, in spite of the fact that, yes, they're living in this sort of, gold-plated world a bit that's not relatable for, most of us.
And I love the fact that, and you mentioned Sarah Price, the one mother who's trying so desperately to get her son in. I love the fact that there's so many layers to Sarah. There's insecurity. There's desperation. There's a marriage that is falling apart. There's all these different things that are happening with her. But they're factors of her own making. Mm-hmm. And the harder she tries, the more the sand slips through her fingers.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I love that. Yes. So that was so important to me that I honestly don't think the book would have worked. And I don't think it would have been the book I wanted to write if it had kind of stayed on a surface level mm-hmm. of competitive moms trying to outdo each other. That for me, that's fun and that's part of it, but it had to kind of go to another place.
Yeah.
Too.
And you're writing from different perspectives. So you're getting Audrey's perspective, then you're getting Sarah's perspective. And the fact that you're bouncing and you're getting the different perspectives and the different stories being told is amazing storytelling. It's really good. And for those who are wondering why we're talking about a drama here, there is a crime involved. I can't tell you what it is, but there is a crime involved. And that's one of those things that, unfortunately, I know I hate to use the line here, folks, but it's in the book. It's just one of those things that's so spoilery, I can't tell you. But it's brilliant. It's genius. And it's in the twists and turns, Rebecca, that you just go, am I actually reading this right now? It's kind of like when you're driving on a mountain, and you go, as you find that stretch of mountain that seems like it's smoothing out, and then all of a sudden it's 20 miles an hour and a hard right-hand turn, and you got to hit the brakes really hard because you can't believe that turn came up so quick. That's kind of what this book feels like at times, because you think things are going along just the way you think it's supposed to go along. Then all of a sudden you hit that right-hand turn in 20 miles an hour and you're going 40 and you feel like you're going to go off the side of the mountain. There are those unexpected turns in this book that you just go, whoa, no way. And
I love the hairpin turn analogy. That's what I was going for. So I'm glad it landed.
Yeah. And I do have to ask you this, because in every book there's the rock or the center of the book that anchors this book. In your mind, when you wrote this book, who do you think it is? And I'll tell you who I think is the anchor, the center of this book, because there is so much drama and it feels like the floor isn't centered. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much stuff going on and everybody's life is in so much turmoil that there isn't a center. But who do you think is the center of this book that keeps everybody anchored?
Ooh, this is a tough one. You're right, because I did pull the rug out from hopefully I do it in a way that when you look back, right, that's the sign of like a great twist, or at least a twist that works, which is when you look back and say, oh, right, she totally built up to that, right? It's not something where you just pull the rug out and it doesn't make any sense. So I don't know. I guess I would say for me, I'm so curious if you're going to say the same thing, but for me, Sarah is the heart and soul of the book, and it doesn't work without her. And when you know her full story from start to finish, it's like, oh, okay. And it feels like Audrey's along for the ride more. But it's hard to say that without spoiling anything. But what's your answer? I'm so curious now.
Well, just the anchor, the center who keeps everybody keeps everybody from going.
Oh, well, yeah, maybe that's a different question. Maybe it's Chippy. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. That keeps everybody from going off the rails is Chippy.
Yeah. Well, yes, then it's Chippy. And then it's Chippy. Okay. I agree with you.
But as far as, the center of the book or would be Sarah.
So like the heart of the book is Sarah.
The heart of the book is Sarah.
But I agree that Chippy, that's cool that you noticed that, because that was kind of my intent, especially because you don't, another thing you don't totally see till the end, but you see how Chippy plays that role.
Yeah.
When you finish the book.
The book starts out much like you would expect. The outward look of society on that slice of life would be, well, these people are pretty vapid. They're worried about themselves and their riches and everybody looking perfect. And then you take that deep dive into what this is and how many problems. And it's not just, hashtag white people problems or first world problems. There are really some real problems going on with almost every character in the book, except for, again, the anchor in this deal, which is Chippy, which seems to be the one woman who seems to be, although she seems the most vapid, she's really not. She's really the deepest person in this book. But she's just the one who's centering everybody as they're spinning out of control. But Audrey is the one who is trying to emulate Chippy and trying to keep it in control as things are spinning out of control in her world. She's trying to be the most like her.
Yeah. Yes. You're so insightful. I so appreciate that. You're noticing all that. And I couldn't agree more.
It's a very interesting dynamic and an interesting world that you've created here, Rebecca. And that, again, trying to not put out those spoilers there, but I'm interested in different character development here. Where did you think of the idea of having, because it's an unusual idea of having Audrey's husband, Luke, come into the picture without giving too much away about Luke, this photographer who runs across Audrey and eventually becomes her husband?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, he sort of sprang kind of fully formed in my head. Maybe this is like a cop-out answer, but I feel like I just knew who he was going to be. So basically, once I kind of started really marinating on this premise of, we've got this admissions director and we've got this desperate mom, and even, I didn't know from the beginning how it was all going to play out, but I knew Luke would be someone. I knew that his character would be, he's a creative, he's sexy, he's, someone who was sort of aspirational for Audrey, because again, there are cracks in Audrey's armor. As much as she comes off as, certainly in the beginning, she's got it together. She's imagine the admissions director at one of these schools. Like, it's a coveted job, and as I say in the book, she's kind of the decider of a lot of people's fates. So, she's got she has some power in that role, right? Mm-hmm. But again, we know the more we read that she has her own insecurities. But I just knew Luke would have felt like a win for her, that she found him and that he fell in love with her. So he kind of came into my head and really stayed. Like, I didn't change his character much from even just that first inkling of the idea. Whereas Audrey and Sarah and obviously they're more of the we're hearing their voices. They're the main heart and soul of the book. I really worked a long time on their character development before I started writing to really make sure that those layers were right and their motivations and all that. And which is actually something I can say, like, I learned as a soap opera writer, because like I said, those long running characters are, they make or break the show, and a really great story comes organically from the characters. And that hopefully is true. Hopefully that feels true here as well.
Well, in a great story sometimes happens when someone makes an honest mistake. And Audrey really makes an honest mistake here, in that it comes out of compassion and maybe seeing something in Sarah that she sees in herself. And we should explain to our audience that there's a deadline in Easton, and that they only allow so many applicants to Easton. It's like 250, I believe. And the deadline for applicants is set. Sarah gets her application in for her son a little bit too late, but she sends an email to Audrey begging and pleading to get her son in. And Audrey takes a little bit of pity on her and decides, well, she sent kind of an awkward email, a very awkward email to her, and then a follow-up to that email that's even more awkward. And it turns out maybe she's had a couple of glasses of wine as she's done so. And it's so awkward and so different and so original that she goes, well, okay, maybe I should take a little pity on her and, you know what, forward the application anyways, which is maybe a violation of what she does in her job. But she's going to let this one go through, even though she shouldn't. This is a direct violation of what she does in her own job.
Yeah.
So she's made the exception, which tends to be a deadly exception. Now, at this point, she's taken a step over the line, to which Sarah is overly grateful and takes her step over the line and decides to have flowers delivered to her, but doesn't do it the conventional way, because flowers should be delivered through the receptionist at the academy, but ends up getting them into her office through unknown means. Now we're in boundary crossing territory. Yep. Now we're crossing boundaries. And it goes from there. Sarah crosses different boundaries to give gifts to Audrey. And now it becomes stalkerish. And Audrey's more uncomfortable. And the chase is on. And in this, Audrey decides, well, I can't have this happen. And she starts crossing into Sarah's world. And then there's different interpretations. Sarah doesn't see it as being stalkerish, does she?
No. I mean, you're touching on exactly what I was hoping to kind of do with this, which is, imagine, this has happened to all of us. It happens to all of us all the time. Someone tells us a story from their perspective, and we are like, it's our friend, and we're enraged on their behalf, or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you get the opportunity that you happen to hear, the exact other side of it. And then it doesn't mean, maybe you're still empathetic for what your friend experienced, but you have one of those moments of like, that one tiny piece of information was left out, or, I had no idea that it was in this context or whatever it is. And it changes your whole view of what happened. And I was hoping, and I know I mentioned Gone Girl before, but it's the gold standard in doing that. And I'm sure we've all seen it or read it by now. So hopefully it's okay to spoil it, but that midpoint where you finally hear from Amy, not just her diary entries, but her, what she's actually experiencing. And you just say, oh, and it's this huge aha lightning bolt moment. And I really wanted to play with that. It's the unreliable narrator, basically. And I really wanted to play with that. Sarah sees everything she's done as justified. And, she assumes that others will see it through the lens that she's seeing it through. And through her lens, it does kind of make sense. When you're reading her version of events, you get it more, You still think she's nutty and neurotic and all these things, but it doesn't. So that was so much fun to play with. And it was a huge, part of the story for me.
But one person's a little nutty and neurotic as another person's dangerous and stalkerish.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where this misconstruement ends up becoming dangerous to all involved.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's reputations on the line, and there's high stakes at line. There's money on the line, and it becomes dangerous in the meantime. So that's kind of where we have to leave it, folks. Unfortunately, but I'm telling you, it gets deeper than that. I've left it at a very surface spot for you. I just can't go further than that. But in that, Audrey can't. It's kind of unfortunate. Audrey can't go to Chippy and tell her this. She can't go to anybody at the school and tell anybody this, because if she does, she risks losing her job because she's violated rules to let Sarah get her application in. It's that simple. And she's violated a few other things too, but you'll have to read the book to find that out.
You'll have to read, but she really becomes trapped, and Sarah's so trapped by her circumstances. And my hope is that you just don't know what's up and what's down until you get to the end, and that you kind of see just that turning of everything on its head, like happens a couple times, and was just like really what made the book both a delight to write, but also like I'm hoping to give people this experience where they just don't know what to expect.
And you have you very much at the beginning of the book, you're like, what the F when it comes to Sarah? Why are you doing this? Just back off, just take a breath. And you'll see what happens in the back half of the book. There's another what the F, but you're saying it in a totally different context. Folks, I tell you, this is a classic case study in why there's two different meanings to everything in life, and why you sometimes need to take a step back and figure out what it is that people say or what it is in their intention in what they do. But it's an interesting psychological thriller. And again, there's a crime involved. There's plenty of crimes involved in this. And one of those books that you just, when you get done reading it, you're like, wow, I'm really glad I read that, because it gets you thinking. It really does get you thinking. So Rebecca, with that, let me ask you this. After you sat down and wrote this, what was it that you learned about human behavior after you sat down and wrote it?
I think I didn't realize how much I did have to say about this whole world, the world of being a parent in 2023. It's like I was working out a lot of questions while writing the book, and I can't say that I necessarily answered them, but again, I do really think about, I didn't know how much I was even thinking about some of these themes about, intensive parenting and the competitiveness and, desperation, until I wrote it. And then I kind of looked at it like a mirror to sort of, reflect so many of the thoughts I'd sort of gathered over the last, decade of being a mom. So it was really quite introspective. And then the second part of that was, you read the book, so it's wild in a lot of ways. It's edgy, it's vulnerable. I am not any of these characters, and it's all fiction. But I still put a lot of my own, different demons and things on the page. I mean, that's what authors do. I mean, we turn it into something else on the page, but it still comes from us, right? So, like Sarah, I mean, I'm not Sarah, but I totally relate to the way she thinks about things. So it was vulnerable in a way that my YA series was not. Like, I feel like this book, it was a little scary getting people's reactions in the beginning. Now I'm so much. Now I'm used to it, and the book's out there, and it's been so delightful to, to hear about. I'll, every few days or once a week or whatever, I'll get some random message like, I forgot to tell you, I read your book and I stayed up half the night. And, I did not see all those twists coming, but I think people have a healthy understanding of like what's literally, it's not a memoir. So people know, and people can kind of appreciate the, my places my mind went and had to go to write this. And it feels way less scary now. So I'm totally, it was a learning experience in that way, but.
Have you had anybody who's misconstrued any of the characters? Keep in mind, this is fiction, but have you had anybody who's misconstrued any of the characters and thought, well, maybe she's taking a shot at me, or maybe this is too close to home, or anything like that?
Not that anyone has mentioned to me. So,
okay.
Not that I'm aware of whatsoever. Okay. I mean, most people, I had the closest I came to anything that was like, even remotely like awkward or whatever, was somebody saying like, I don't know. I didn't, I picture you in your sweatpants at the carpool drop off. Like, I had no idea that you were thinking about like this whole world with like fashion and, I don't even, just all these things, and then the darker places that the book goes. Like,
yeah.
Who are you? Like, who are you? But I think she meant as a compliment. I don't think it was anything negative. And she just was surprised because it was someone who didn't know me that well, Yeah. Although, so the people who do know me know that like I live a very, I'm a mom with 3 kids. Like I'm going to bed and waking up and starting the hamster wheel of like,
as we all do,
basketball practice and, whatever.
Yeah.
But people who know me really well, though, they know that I've got a lot of like stuff up there that I'm churning on and thinking about. So they were less surprised, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. The people who know you know that you've got a vivid imagination and you're very talented and you can put it on the page. The people who are more surface friends are more surprised by the book.
More surprised, yeah.
There you go.
Totally. But nothing negative, and no, at least nothing that anyone said. And I have to say, I was pretty careful that nothing seemed like too much like anything from my life. There, it wasn't that hard, but there were a few places where I like tweaked something, so it didn't seem like anything that was even remotely like a true anecdote.
What?
But even then, I doubt anyone would be.
Yeah. What I think it is, though, Rebecca, honestly, is because I think with some fiction writers, I think they put so much of themselves into characters and they put so much of themselves into stories that I think some people think that some fiction writers have a hard time keeping real life out of fiction.
I can see that for sure, because you've got to find material somewhere, right? So
right.
Where does that, where's that line drawn? So
I think that's what it is. I think they expect you to put your real life thoughts and feelings and even your demons into fiction, and they don't think that you've got enough of that creative imagination to throw that into a story or even separate yourself from your worlds and be able to put something completely different on the page. And that's not true at all. So, yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. Well, folks, I want to encourage you to go out and get The Last Applicant. Rebecca Hanover has been our guest, and the book's amazing. It just is absolutely amazing and going to take you on twists and turns that you had no idea you're going to go on. It's completely enthralling. And Rebecca, I want to thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This was a blast. It went by in a flash because just you made it so fun, and I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you as well. Folks, it's time now for us to lighten things up just a little bit. We'll bring in Beer City Bruisers. Time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again. The time we all look forward to. It's time for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals as we lighten things up a bit. And with that, we need a co-host. We bring in the co-host with the most, the BCB, the Big Cuddly Bear himself, Beer City Bruiser. Bruiser, how you doing?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Had a successful show the other night, and body held up, hip held up, so I'm feeling good.
Good to hear. I'm so glad, man, that everything's going good after surgery. That you're on the path to wellness and back in that ring and rolling around again. And it's good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah, able to make some money. It felt good. It was fun to entertain the fans again. I mean, it's my third match back, but it doesn't feel. I feel great. Good. Yeah. Good. And now that I changed my complete style, I don't wake up abused and sore.
Well, no diving over the top rope. That's probably that's probably the good thing, right?
Yeah, Mrs. Bruiser when I watch stuff now to figure out what I want to do, she'll go, you can't do that. She can't do it. There's certain people she won't let me watch anymore. Like, no more watching Mick Foley, even though I used to always watch him. No more. Because I get crazy ideas. Yeah. No more watching Terry Funk because get those crazy ideas.
Yeah, you probably want to watch a guy like, Brooklyn Brawler?
Who's having funny you bring his name up. Yes, I want to give him well wishes. He is having shoulder replacement surgery today.
Oh, is he?
On his left shoulder. Yeah, I saw him at WrestleCon. I became good friends with him a couple years ago. We wrestled a match, and promoter told us to give us 8 minutes, and he says, I don't know if I can give 8 minutes. And I said, Brooklyn? I said, Brawler? Just follow me, kid. I got you. And we ended up going 12 minutes. And he was so happy that we exchanged phone numbers. We became friends, and saw him at WrestleCon, and he's having surgery today. So positive vibes, good healing vibes for Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah.
Hopefully his surgery goes well, and he still looks amazing, though. He's still in great shape. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got good genes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. I said, what are you most concerned about with the rehab? He goes, I just want to lift again. I don't know when they're going to let me lift. That's a Brawler.
Yeah, well,
he's 63.
Though it gets in your blood. You know that. I mean, you get with that. You start doing physical fitness, and you make a habit of getting in the gym every day, and you get used to it. I mean, gosh, look at Vince McMahon. He's still getting in the gym every day.
Yeah, and he's what, 75?
75, 76, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, it becomes a habit. So
yeah. So well wishes to Brooklyn Brawler. Hope the surgery goes well and healing is easy and fast for him.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the pro wrestling circuit and places you guys like to hang out at, I have more bad news for you, Bruiser. I didn't want to. I'm gonna start off the program with it so we get it out of the way.
Okay.
I don't know what it is with this place recently, but of course on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, we talk about, and I didn't actually get this story. It was sent to me by a listener.
Okay.
I think it was Tony that sent this. But, we were talking about that Chinese joint in Saugus, is it Massachusetts?
Yeah, Kowloon. Yeah,
Kowloon.
Kowloon. Yeah.
There's been another incident there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think this isn't a repeat of that same. This isn't about that same story. A man's died after a freak knife incident outside Massachusetts restaurant. A horrible tragedy, the family says. Patrick Kenny Jr. was remembered by his family as a loving father, husband, brother, son, and loyal friend to many. A Massachusetts man died Saturday after authorities say he suffered an accidental fatal knife wound at a restaurant parking lot. 42-year-old Patrick Kenny Jr. was found injured just after 9 p.m. local time in the Kowloon parking lot in Saugus.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's a huge parking lot, too.
It is. Well, that's what you were saying. The lines are huge on Saturday nights, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's Malonis, I think, lives 45 minutes from there, and he'll put his order in before he leaves his house.
Whoa.
And I'll still have to wait for it.
Wow. Patrick Kenny Jr. later died at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. The incident appears to be accidental, and no additional parties are believed to be involved, the Essex County District Attorney Office said in a statement.
So he was probably walking back to his car, tripped and fell and stabbed himself.
Well, we'll find out. I don't know that it was like that, but although police have not released additional details about his death, Kenny was reported wounded with a knife attached to the lanyard. He did do that. Damn it!
He tripped and fell and stabbed himself.
Wow. Okay. You're psychic today. He reportedly was wounded with a knife attached to the lanyard he was wearing around his neck.
Why do you have a knife around your neck, sir? They give you a handy little bag to carry your silverware in. Is he a 3-year-old? Did he have a note on his jacket, too, that said, orange chicken, sesame chicken, and some lo mein?
I guess. Kenny was allegedly at the restaurant for a birthday party with about 30 other people at the time. The Essex County District Attorney's Office and the Saugus Police Department did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Bob Wong, whose family owns Kowloon, who probably thinks he's cursed now after the last month or so.
I'll just send him a message. He's a real open guy, and I'll ask him. I'll see if I can get to the bottom of it. Is this cursed now? Come on.
He says he was devastated by the incident. Wong shared that some in the Kenny family were regulars at the restaurant, saying that they were going through a tough period and that the focus should really be on them. A message from People magazine to the restaurant was not immediately returned, probably because Bob Wong said, "What the hell does People magazine want with Kowloon?" The man's family has said they believe what happened was a freak accident, according to the outlets. In a statement, they described what happened as a horrible tragedy.
Well, yeah, you attached silverware to the man's neck. Come on. I'm not the brightest parent in the world, but I know that when I have my kids, and this guy isn't a kid.
No.
But I don't put sharp utensils around their neck. So growing up, they probably would think, when I was a kid, Dad never let us run with knives or put them around our neck. So if someone hands me a lanyard with a knife on it, I'm just going to be like, I'll put this in my pocket. I don't need this.
I'm about to say something controversial here in a little bit, so bear with me here.
Okay.
Our family, here's a statement from them. Our family is mourning the loss of Patrick, focused on his wife, Lauren, and 2 young children, and trying to make sense of this horrific tragedy. Patrick was a loving father and husband, brother and son, and loyal friend to many. Okay, nice statement.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Now, here's the controversial statement, Bruiser. According to this, it says a GoFundMe was set up on behalf of the family and has raised over $15,000 as of Monday afternoon. Do you contribute to a GoFundMe for a guy who accidentally stabbed himself in the parking lot of a Chinese restaurant?
No, I do not. I'll show up and hand the family a couple bucks, because he's got kids. But I would pay a GoFundMe into hiring a private detective to see whose genius idea it was to put a knife on a lanyard.
I'd sooner show up and give the money to Bob Wong.
Yeah.
Because that's 2 tragedies in his parking lot in less than a month.
That he doesn't contribute to, because Kowloon's in a nice part of town. It's a great restaurant, it's a great bar. He's got comedy there. He used to, during the pandemic, he did drive-in movies. He does a lot for the community. This is his bad press for him because some guy was an idiot.
Kenny's death remains under investigation by police and the district attorney's office. I think it's pretty much an open and shut case, but
yeah, they should arrest whoever put a damn knife on a lanyard.
Right. That's just, I don't know. We move on, Bruiser. We go to Sarasota, Florida. Of course, we can't avoid Florida man on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. It would never happen. A bystander is arrested after getting involved in a traffic stop, but in an unusual way.
Okay.
Sarasota deputies on a traffic stop soon turned away to deal with much bigger problems. On December 1st, a Sarasota County deputy was finishing up a routine traffic stop, writing a written warning in lieu of giving a ticket, when 69-year-old Alexandru Stan came up and began beating his fists against her window. The man said he lived in an apartment complex where the deputy was conducting the traffic stop, and that the deputy needed to leave so that he could get out.
That's not entitled in any way, shape, or form, is it?
No. I would think a little bit of patience would probably be.
Yeah. You're waiting, 15 minutes tops?
Yeah. There's no place you really need to be that you need to be tussling with police in order to get out of your parking lot.
No, if you see the paddy wagon show up, that's when you walk up and go, "Hey, I gotta leave. Is this gonna take some time?" But if it's just one cop,
the only place you're leaving is jail if you want to mess with the cops,
especially knocking on their window and demanding.
Right. In contrast, the deputy told him that she was doing her job and that he needed to leave.
Exactly.
Yeah. Stan then refused.
Like a little child, he sat down and pouted.
Oh, he did more than that, Bruce. Are you ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
He stepped chest to chest with the deputy, yelling and pointing his finger in her face. The deputy then grabbed his wrist and shirt and tried to put him in handcuffs. But Stan, being the big man he was, denied her, going so far as to strike the deputy and try to break free.
Oh, come on.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you he wouldn't have done that if it was a male cop.
No, not at all.
No, and I'm not saying the female cop isn't doing her job. She is. They need to be respected just as male cops. But this guy sounds like a chauvinistic pig.
Yeah, exactly. Backup soon arrived for the deputy, however, and then Stan was up against the hood of the patrol car, finally wearing his handcuffs once backup got there. Evidently, he didn't realize that there's more than one cop on duty.
Yeah, and you punched a cop, so you are now numero uno on their list.
Yep. He's been charged with both resisting with violence and obstructing without violence and was released from Sarasota County Jail a day later on $500 bond. That was it.
So even though he wanted that she was parked and he couldn't get out, he essentially lost a whole day.
Yeah. Guess what? He didn't get to where he was going.
Exactly. Whatever he was in a rush to, he's still really late for.
He is. He never got there. Never got there. You remember the Superman movies, the Christopher Reeve movies?
Oh, yeah.
You remember the villains from the Phantom Zone?
Oh, my gosh. That totally is.
These guys look like the villains from the Phantom Zone, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to...
They're all wearing black, too.
They all are wearing black.
They all have the two men have the perfect beards for it. She's kind of attractive.
A little bit, but she definitely kind of fits the female villain in Super. Was it Superman 3?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Superman 2.
Superman 2. That's right.
Yeah, because that's where he just randomly rips off the S and throws it.
Yeah.
Remember? It's like, and he does the reverse switching when he gets in the pod.
Yep. Yeah, and then they all lose their powers and yeah. Wow. Well, and there's your synopsis of Superman 2.
We just saved you money.
There you go. Well,
it's still very good. Christopher Reeve is a fantastic Superman.
Yes. You know, there's a Superman 78 comic book out now.
I do.
Yeah.
Yep. They're planning on doing all of them. One with the old man, and then the 78. They have the 66 one, and then they're going to come out with the 89 one.
Oh, really?
With Keaton. Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh, yeah. The Batman 89 has been out for some time. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I know they wanted to do each individual one, but they're leaving out Clooney, and although from Clooney on, they're leaving out.
Oh, okay. All right. Three people are accused. The villains from the Phantom Zone are accused of leading deputies on a chase and damaging a patrol vehicle. We continue with the crimes against cops bent here. The Berkeley County. We're going to Berkeley County, South Carolina. In case I didn't tell you that.
Okay.
The Berkeley County Sheriff's Office says the three villains from the Phantom Zone that I showed Bruiser face charges after leading deputies on a chase in St. Stephen and damaging their patrol vehicles. Brandon Lee Potter was charged with failure to stop for blue lights, resisting arrest, giving false information to police, and driving under suspension. William Derek Thomas was charged with evading arrest and malicious injury to property. And Ashley Cherie Hart was charged with evading arrest. Deputies said she had an outstanding warrant as well.
Oh, okay. Yep. So she's a real gem.
Yeah, no innocence in this deal.
No.
Deputies.
That's why they were in the Phantom Zone for so long.
That's right. That's why they were trapped in the Phantom Zone. They probably just got out, and now they're tormenting Henry Cavill.
Yeah, they're trying to get Superman to come back, and he's not having it.
That's right. Deputies were patrolling around Butterbean Road in St. Stephen. How would you like to live on Butterbean Road?
I would love it.
Yeah.
You know what I want? I want Butterbean the boxer to live on Butterbean Road.
I do too. Maybe that's why they named it Butterbean Road. Maybe he's secretly hiding out down there.
Maybe. Have you seen recent pictures of him? He's not big anymore.
No?
No, he's lost a lot of weight. Looks great. Looks
Really?
fantastic. Yeah.
Well, good for him. I was a little worried about Butterbean. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. No, he looks great. He's in great shape.
Good. Well, deputies were patrolling around Butterbean Road in St. Stephen when they said they attempted to stop the trio from driving a vehicle with defective equipment. Interesting. Potter, the driver, did not stop, and Thomas began to throw things from the vehicle, damaging the hood, windshield, grill, and radiator of one patrol vehicle and causing a flat tire on another patrol vehicle. I guess it's one way to get the cops to stop.
I just like, they probably got in the car and the girl went, "What are all these bricks in the back seat for?" And the guy's like, "He'll find out."
Just kind of pick one up and chuck it out the window, see what happens. Potter lost control of the vehicle and hit a tree. Thomas and Hart ran into the woods where a canine unit later found them because you can't ever run from the canine unit.
No, you cannot. They will find you, they will bite you, and they will hold you.
Yes, they will. Not lovingly either.
Oh, no.
No, they don't hold you
I've been held
lovingly.
by them. No.
No, they hold you quite viciously. Potter was caught running into the woods. Deputies said he lied to them about his identity, but they found his driver's license in the wrecked vehicle because...
My name is General Zod.
Kneel before Zod. No, you kneel because the cop dog has your balls.
And we found your ID right here.
That's right.
You are not from Krypton. You're from South Carolina.
That's right. Let's move on, shall we? I don't know if you heard about the recent American terrorist plot that happened over the weekend.
No, I know that they're warning us that it could be coming because of everything that's happening with Hamas, Israel, Ukraine, and Russia.
No, Bruiser, not against us. The one that we committed.
No, huh?
Bruiser, I thought you were more on top of things.
Why, yeah, I'm sorry I had a show this weekend. I was torn away from media.
No, I realize you're a busy man. But this...
And in the locker rooms, they don't really discuss terrorism.
This, Bruiser, was huge international news.
Yeah.
Evidently, there was an American terrorist plot against Cuba.
Really?
Yeah.
Wasn't that called Bay of Pigs?
Well, I mean, way back when, sure. But this, my friend, this just happened over the weekend.
Okay. I'm curious.
This terrorist plot happened in kind of a sneaky way.
Are we allowed in Cuba? I thought we couldn't go to Cuba.
Well, during the Obama administration, they opened up the borders a little bit, but I think they've closed back down since then.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought there was a travel ban. Anyways,
yeah,
if you're a terrorist, it doesn't matter.
That's right. And when you're a terrorist, you have to think of sneaky ways to get into Cuba. Because, yeah, right?
Like a big statue of Castro, and you hide in it until they all go to sleep.
The Trojan Castro. No. This terrorist was thinking, but not with his head.
Okay.
He was thinking with his Baywatch head.
All right.
Cuba thwarted this terrible terrorist plot by a South Florida man. Of course, you know we're going to Florida.
Yeah.
Who arrived by jet ski.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
This, according to Cuba's state-run media. That's right, folks. State-run media in Cuba says there was a terrorist attack by an American on a jet ski.
I'm so curious as to what his plan was.
We go to Havana, where Cuba said late on Saturday it had thwarted a terrorist plot hatched in neighboring South Florida, according to a report broadcast on state-run media, after a man allegedly arrived on the island by jet ski to commit acts of violence.
Because that's the best way to do it.
I have a quick math question for you, and I know math is hard, so it's hard for both of us. So let's try and figure this out. How many miles to the gallon for a tank of gas on a jet ski? It's 90 miles from South Florida to Cuba.
I actually kind of know the answer to this because of a Dateline show I watched. There was a gentleman in, now we're going over to Seattle, to Washington.
Okay.
He was a citizen there. He committed a bunch of crimes, faked his own death.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, did not fake his death. Committed a bunch of crimes under this name, killed a guy, stole his identity, moved to Canada.
Okay.
While in Canada, commits all these crimes, kills a bunch of people, goes back to America knowing there's a warrant for himself, turns himself in. That way they can't prove that he did it because his real identity is in prison, while this other identity that committed the crimes. Well, they figured it out. It was him. He got from Canada into the United States. It's a 90-mile trek by jet ski. So the officers, when they found out he had purchased this jet ski, the first question they asked the jet ski owner was, how many miles to the gallon can you get? Because we want to find out where he would have ran out of gas.
Yeah.
To either fill up or leave the jet ski. And they tossed a general number. So the police went there, and lo and behold, guess what they found?
What's that?
The jet ski out of gas.
Really?
Yep. And then they were able to track, okay, he's in America again. They were able to find him, catch him, and all that. So I think a guy could go to Cuba, and I don't think he can come back. He has to fuel up, but I think he can go 90 miles on a jet ski.
So where did he think he was going to fuel up when he got to Cuba? That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the question is you have to have an inside source to fuel. It's not like you can pull up to a gas station after you commit these crimes.
Right, unless it was a one-way trip. Let's find out.
Yeah.
So Cuba said late on Saturday it had thwarted a terrorist plot hatched in neighboring South Florida, according to a report broadcast on state-run media after a man allegedly arrived on the island by jet ski to commit acts of violence. The resulting investigation, which state-run media said was still underway, alleged that a plot was tied to at least two groups, Nueva Nación Cubana and La Nueva Nación Cubana en Armas, which Cuba has labeled as terrorist entities. Reuters was unable to contact either of the groups late on Saturday. The report said one of the men it had arrested, who appeared on the program but whose identity was unclear, was armed with several handguns, ammo clips, and ammo. The report alleged the man, who is a Cuban residing in Florida, had entered Cuba illegally on a jet ski with a Florida registration, which he then abandoned in a mangrove swamp on the island's north coast before making his way overland to Cienfuegos in south central Cuba. The man then attempted to recruit others to assist in committing acts of violence, arson, and vandalism before his eventual arrest. That, according to the report. State-run media said several other Cubans residing both in South Florida and in Cuba were under investigation for their involvement in the alleged plot. The allegations come just 2 days after Cuba published a list of more than 84 nationals and entities that accused of terrorism, including influencers, many longtime dissidents who reside in the United States, and a candidate for mayor of Florida's Miami-Dade County. No one is safe.
Deep.
That's right. The two groups identified in Saturday's TV report appear on the list published by Cuba earlier this week and are labeled as criminal organizations based in the United States that organize, finance, and execute actions against the security of the Cuban state. With that in mind, Bruiser, does this seem plausible?
No, not at all. How weird is it, too, that terrorist organizations have media people?
Right, yeah. Well, no, wait a minute. I'm going to walk that back. Al-Qaeda has one.
Hamas has one, too.
Hamas has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This group obviously does because they reached out for comment.
most large terrorist organizations do have a media spokesperson or a media representative because they don't see themselves as terrorist organizations. They see themselves as political organizations.
Oh, I know that. I'm just saying, like, hey, we have to find these leaders. Follow the social media guy. He's getting his orders from somewhere.
Well, true. Yeah. But they see themselves as legitimate organizations. They're labeled as terrorist organizations by outside influences.
Okay.
So even Hezbollah has a major spokesperson.
Okay, so because they don't see themselves as the villains.
No. They see themselves
they think they're doing it for freedom or whatever their beliefs are.
Yes, they look at themselves as liberators.
Yeah.
So of course they have media spokespeople that you go to.
It just always blew my mind. like with this war going on in Israel, oh, Hamas just released this social media footage. Like, wait, what? Follow them then. That's the guy doing it.
Well, no, not necessarily. They actually hire people who have college degrees in journalism and in public relations.
Could you take that job?
Could I take that job?
Al-Qaeda called you up today and says, Cruiser, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars a year. You're going to run our Facebook page. You're also going to do a podcast for us. Would you do it?
Absolutely not. No.
Neither would I.
But there are people that work for the American side of I forget what the name of the channel is now. It's the Arabic CNN. But they broadcast, and I can't think of the name of the channel. Somebody will email me and tell me what it is. And they broadcast many pro-terrorist messages.
Okay.
But see, that's just a perspective to them. So they broadcast it, and you have many. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. You have many legitimate journalists who work for that channel.
Wow.
So
crazy.
It's again, it's about perspective.
Yeah.
It's not my perspective.
Yeah. What's that saying? No matter how good you are, you're always the villain in someone's story.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay.
Let's move on. This is an absolutely bizarre story. We're in the winter months here, at least in the north. It snowed here this past week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit. We got a little trace of snow. The one thing we don't allow here in Minnesota is chains on your tires.
Really?
Yes. You're not allowed to put chains on your tires because it busts up the roadways.
Wow. See, that was just a common thing in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Now, see, some northern states allow you to put chains on your tires, but there are other states that don't allow it anymore because of the destructive tendencies of chains.
Okay.
This state, not so much, that we're going to right now. In fact, Washington state still allows you to put chains on your tires because winter not as prevalent. I mean, you still get snow, but and especially this year, you're getting snow in Washington state. One driver was busted for using a USB cord as an impromptu tire chain accessory, and it was deemed not acceptable. Rather.
No, it's not.
No, you can't use a USB. And I'm going to show you a picture of this, Bruiser. You're going to laugh your silly ass off when you see this.
Oh, jeez.
Now, there are fixes for tire chains. How do we know
that's not an electric car and that's how he charges it?
Oh, come on. There are certain ways to fix a tire chain. That is not it. And can you describe...
The best is he also has... So you can see it looks like two wallet chains with a bike chain connected by the USB cord. And the USB cord is wrapped around something that you'd put in a bra to hide your bra straps.
That's the best way to describe it. It is a mess.
It's creative, but a mess. And there's no way that would work. The chains are too far apart.
Yeah,
and they're wallet chains. Like they're not chains.
Right. And that little, you know how flimsy a USB cord is.
Yeah, and that little bra thing is plastic. That's going to snap right away.
Yeah, it's never going to hold. I don't know why somebody would put that on there, even if you're just going to go a couple miles.
Yeah.
We go to Hayek, Washington. When driving in winter weather on the freeway, it's not only essential to carry tire chains, at least in Washington, but make sure ahead of time that they're the right size for the vehicle's tires. A driver in Washington state was given a hefty fine Thursday when it was discovered that they not only had improper fitting chains, but they used a rather dangerous method to fix the issue. That's in quotes, which would be a USB cord. Washington State Patrol troopers spotted the vehicle along Interstate 90 and I believe this is the Snoqualmie Pass on Thursday evening, as heavy snow fell in the mountains. This driver had chains that were too small and used a USB cord to remedy the situation, according to Trooper Rick Johnson, who posted on X, and he said, not acceptable.
Not acceptable at all.
It was not cheap either. Johnson told Fox Weather the driver was given a $500 ticket for not carrying proper chains. though like their cord, they were not charged. It was one of the many traffic issues troopers and Washington State Department of Transportation personnel faced with a heavy snowstorm hitting the popular travel link between western and eastern Washington, as many other drivers ignored the traction, tire, and chain warnings too. At one point, the entire pass was closed for more than 3 hours this last Thursday evening due to multiple spinouts. Come on, folks, you can do better than this, WIS.dot officials said on their Snoqualmie Pass X account. Yes, there is one. We are closed eastbound I-90 at milepost 47 west of the summit due to vehicles not obeying the traction tire requirements and spinning out and blocking lanes. Please obey the tire traction requirements and know before you go. WIS.dot officials said Snoqualmie Pass received about 15 inches of snow on Thursday night.
Oh, geez, that's a lot of snow.
I don't know that you should travel in 15 inches of snow.
No, you let the plows get out there for a bit.
Yeah, especially on a mountain pass. Yeah. More snow was on the way over the weekend. This past weekend, as winter storm warnings forecast up to 8 to 12 inches of new snow at Snoqualmie Pass with a new atmospheric river before a change to a period of freezing rain on Sunday morning. It was just dangerous sledding all around in Washington State this past weekend. So, yeah, a USB cord, not going to cut it. It just wasn't going to cut it this past weekend. So, there you go.
Like I said, how do we know it was an electrical car and you didn't charge it?
Oh, come on. That's not how you charge an electric car. Everybody knows you just put your tongue on a battery, then put your finger on the terminal. Speaking of cars, we will move on to Illinois, where a Kia dealership brought a woman to tears after deviating from its own policy to call 911 and having her wrongly arrested over a $30,000 cashier's check. Yeah, a little bit of an issue here.
Yeah, a little bit.
A black woman filed a racial discrimination lawsuit against a Kia dealership in Highland Park, Illinois on October 13th. Sade Crockett was arrested at the dealership after being falsely accused of using a fraudulent check to purchase a vehicle on March 10th. Crockett was at the McGrath Kia, located on 250 Skokie Valley Road in Highland Park, to purchase a vehicle with a cashier's check gifted to her by her 82-year-old uncle, Enoch Graves. Now, according to her attorneys, Hampton & Hampton LLP, Crockett and her uncle first went to the Fifth Third Bank in Chicago and obtained a cashier's check from Graves' account, which was legitimate and intended as a birthday gift to his niece. The duo explained to the bank tellers that they intended to purchase a vehicle with the cashier's check, and they even called the dealership from the bank to ensure a cashier's check would be proper payment for the intended purchase.
Okay.
So far
they're going the right route.
That's right. The clerks expressed that the bank could accommodate them without issue and that cashier's checks were less susceptible to fraud than personal checks and would give the recipient additional assurances that the check would clear. That according to the lawsuit, adding that the dealership approved the cashier's check made out in the amount of $30,710.05 as an acceptable form of payment. The dealership also advised Crockett that she would not need to bring her uncle with her to make the purchase, and she dropped him off at home before heading to the dealership. However, upon arriving, the 36-year-old said she noticed a sense of unwelcomeness from the predominantly white staff. Nonetheless, she test drove a used Chevy Blazer LT. See, that's your first problem. It was a Chevy Blazer LT.
Yeah, well, her first problem was she was going to a Kia dealership.
Yeah, and then the second problem, it was a Chevy Blazer. And decided she would purchase the 2021 vehicle and give the dealer her cashier's check. She also explained that she'd called earlier with the bank, but when the dealership called Fifth Third to verify the check, they failed to call the same branch and were told the check was likely fraudulent without adequate investigation or due diligence by the bank.
Way to go.
Yeah. The dealership then called 911 and asked for the Highland Park Police Department without bothering to call the correct bank, or the right branch, rather, where the check was drawn. And Crockett was arrested Despite her pleas to explain what happened, according to LakeandMcHenryScanner.com, McGrath Kia deviated from its own policy and practiced to return checks to customers and decline the sale when the validity of a check may be in question. McGrath Kia deviated from this policy and practice based solely upon Crockett's race and instead called the police for Crockett to be arrested. That according to the lawsuit. Yeah. After being told by the bank that Crockett was not a customer of the bank and that she could not verify the check because the computers were down, the officer replied that the people from those neighborhoods were probably using Crockett as a tool to purchase the vehicle with a fraudulent check. Okay. Sade was wrongfully discriminated against based upon her race while trying to purchase or lawfully purchase a vehicle gifted to her by her family member, her attorney, Halil Hampton, told McClatchy News Service. Crockett was arrested and charged with felony forgery, causing her to be brought to tears and to have a nervous breakdown, according to the lawsuit. She wasn't vindicated until several months later on July 18th, when the Lake County State's Attorney's Office finally determined that the check was not fraudulent, no crime had been committed, and all of the charges were dropped. Sorry it took so long, Crockett was told by prosecutors, according to her complaint.
Sorry it took so long. Our bad.
Yep.
We just made you go through all this crap. Not even hey, we'll give you $1,000 off the car. No.
Nope.
Sorry, our bad.
Just a whoops.
So long.
Whoops, we didn't mean it. This case represents a disturbing pattern of racial discrimination and what can happen when banking while black, BWB. There's no data on how frequently the police are called on customers who are making legitimate everyday transactions, noted a press release from Hampton and Hampton LLP. However, racial profiling in our community needs to stop. Our client has suffered extreme emotional distress from the incident and has been unable to find gainful employment due to media headlines with both her name and image. Still visible on the internet today, Sade Crockett needs justice, and she deserves to be treated with both dignity and respect.
Yeah, they should at least offer her a job.
Yeah. The lawsuit was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois and seeks compensatory and punitive damages for the wrongful arrest. WKM Automotive Incorporated, McGrath Kia, Fifth Third Bank, the City of Highland Park, and 2 police officers who arrested Crockett are also named in the lawsuit.
Yeah, they're all going to lose. They have definitely have mud on their face.
Most definitely. We move on. Now, I got to ask you, Bruiser, you and I both have some dentally challenged issues in our past. What's the weirdest way you've ever knocked out a tooth or taken out a tooth?
Besides the chair that knocked out my 2 front teeth.
Yeah, well, there's that one. Yeah, I mean, but was that voluntary?
No.
Okay.
No, that was involuntary. Voluntarily attached my son's tooth to the back of my daughter's bicycle to rip it out.
Okay, and that's a little extreme.
Yep.
I have a story here where a video shows that Palatka teacher knocks out a student's front tooth, and it's a very unusual way on how it happened.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
What? I didn't know that's part of a teacher's job nowadays, but okay.
Well, they're doing everything nowadays, Bruiser. They've got many jobs. We go to Palatka, Florida, where a shocking video shows a Palatka gym teacher chuck a basketball at a 6th grader and then elbow him in the mouth, which knocked out his front tooth.
He was playing hard.
Yeah, he was. He went hard in the paint.
You don't come into my zone, punk.
Palatka police said that 41-year-old James Bellamy was arrested on child abuse and battery charges Monday after security cameras at Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences showed the incident. Seeing him do it to my son on video, that's when I was like, oh my God, my baby is 12, Tony Foster, his mother, said. I'm angry. I'm still angry. But my thing is, why? There is no way you could have got that upset. You want to bet he did it?
And the teacher responded with, don't tell him to bring that game into my yard.
The security video shows her son first hit Bellamy while playing basketball. According to the report, Bellamy said, Oh, my God. He said, get your black ass out on the court.
What is with the racial stuff?
I don't know.
Wow.
Then the 41-year-old gym teacher threw a basketball. The 12-year-old ducks, and the teacher struck him in the mouth with his elbow. That's some rage.
This guy got picked on a lot as a kid and just decided to carry it over.
Yep. According to the report, the teacher told police it was not intentional.
What?
How is that not intentional?
You threw the ball at him, and when he ducked, you walked up and elbowed him.
But the teacher was fired on Monday, thank God.
Yes.
Action News Jax reached out to the Putnam County School District for comment, and they said, we are all terribly concerned that this incident occurred, as we want the best for all Putnam County students, no matter what school their families choose for them. And then added, Putnam County School District only oversees the charter for Putnam Academy of Arts and Sciences. The district is not involved in their policies or hiring processes. Also, we do not keep personnel records on any of the charter school employees. In other words, please don't blame us for what happened. We don't want to get sued.
And then there's the asterisk. Your kid's going to come here. He better be balling.
That's right. Your kid better know how to ball. Foster said the blow knocked out her son's front tooth and chipped the other front tooth. Doctors are going to attempt to repair it this coming Thursday, but said if they can't, her son will need to wait until he's 21 years old for a fake tooth.
Oh, yeah, because then they stop growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bellamy was released on how much bond, Bruiser, on this past Tuesday?
$1,500.
Go higher. You knocked a kid's tooth out.
$5,000.
$6,500.
Oh, okay.
I still don't think it's enough.
I don't either. That tooth's going to cost $6,500.
Yeah. He was released on $6,500 bond on Tuesday with a no contact order. Foster told Action News Jax, Robert
It's a new action movie coming out.
Yeah, it is. Action News Jackson. Robert Grant, that the Department of Children and Families reached out to her with questions about the incident. Like what? What questions would you possibly have other than that asshole elbowed my kid in the mouth?
Well, it could be, were you winning the game? Were you losing the game? Was my son schooling you and you got upset?
Yeah. How small is your penis?
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
Do you not know how to ball properly?
Yeah. How many kids beat you up when you were a child? So, yeah. How bad were you bullied? I don't know. Let's move on, shall we? Yes. We're just a couple stories away from the not safe for work portion of our program. But first, we need to we're just one story away from our not safe for work program. Listen to me. Not safe for work portion of our program. As I struggle. This Bruiser qualifies as being the most Floridian of Floridian stories, I think, of the year so far.
Okay.
As we go to Florida, a man tries to steal a Waffle House tattoo. You can't make it up.
He tries to what? Steal a Waffle House tattoo?
Yeah.
Like cut it off someone's body?
No, he got the tattoo and he tried to walk away with it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Tried to steal.
That doesn't work that way.
First of all, he walked into a tattoo parlor and said, I need me a Waffle House tattoo.
Right there, the tattooer should be like, something's wrong with this guy.
Yeah, you're either high or drunk. You got to be high on meth to get a Waffle House tattoo.
Oh, God, yeah. And I like Waffle House, but I'm not tattooing it on my body.
Oh, I love me some Waffle House, but there's nothing that can make me get it on my body for the rest of my life.
No, sir.
There's nothing that good about Waffle House.
No. I would never want to go into a Waffle House and pull up my sleeve and go, bam, what do I get for it?
First of all, we're going to meet Max Alexander Krekant. He's 33 years old, Bruiser. He should know better.
There's drugs involved. I'm telling you right now. He's in Florida. There's got to be drugs.
First of all, I'm going to show you a picture of this doofus. He looks like a methed out. What's his name from Fast and Furious?
Yeah, he never grew up.
He looks
Like he thinks he's cool in that picture. He's like, I'm motocross god. I got my metal militia hat and my motocross gloves, and
he looks like
never seen a girl naked.
He looks like
willfully.
a methed out Vin Diesel, doesn't he?
Yeah, yes, he does.
Yeah. Max Alexander Krekant, I believe it is, or Kretchant, or Kretchkant, I think is what it is. The 33-year-old Floridian was arrested Saturday after he allegedly refused to pay for a $250 tattoo. That's the real crime here.
$250 for a Waffle House tattoo.
Yeah. That he received from the Ink God shop in St. Petersburg. Kretchkant was reportedly under the influence. No way. When he got the Waffle House logo tattooed on his right calf.
See, I think what he was thinking was he could really go for some Waffle House, and he's going to dine and dash. And when he walked in, all he could say is Waffle House. So the tattoo artist was like, okay, put the logo on him. And he thought he was in the restaurant. So he's like, now it's time to dine and dash. Well,
the restaurant chain's emblem is yellow and black. Kretchkant's tattoo, about 5 inches wide, was gray and black. Since he did not want to pay an additional $100 for yellow ink. So he was doing it on the cheap. That according to
walking away anyways, why not,
you might as well go full tilt if you're not going to pay for it. Yeah. That was according to Ink God's owner Neil Marcus. When it came time to pay for the tattoo, Kretchkant, who looks like a methed out Vin Diesel, refused all options to satisfy his debt, according to cops.
Wait, what other options are there? Cash, credit? Like, what else do they...
Drop to your knees, pay it off that way?
Take us to Waffle House?
Yep. A police frisk of Kretchkant turned up only $6 and a driver's license in his bag and nothing on his person. So he couldn't even pay for anything at Waffle House.
No. This guy's just a loser all around.
Charged with theft, Kretchkant, who lives in nearby Clearwater, of course he does, bonded out of jail after posting $150.
Oh, so he has that.
Who gave him the $150?
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah. He has pleaded not guilty to the misdemeanor count. Well, he could come up with $150 to get out of jail. Why couldn't he come up with the $350 to get the yellow Waffle House on?
Maybe it's a bond. Yeah. Maybe it's a bondsman he went through.
What bondsman would go, you have $6, I'll let you out?
I don't know. They'd be like, what'd you steal? That's a sweet Waffle House tattoo.
But it's gray. You still have to have 10% for a bail bondsman. That's $15.
Yeah.
You only had 6 on him. That had to be the stupidest bail bondsman in the world.
Oh, yeah. But a big, big, big Waffle House fan.
He had to be like, dude, I get my check from Waffle House on Friday.
I'll pick up an extra shift.
By the way, Kretchkant pleaded not guilty to the misdemeanor count. I don't know how you get out of this.
Yeah, how do you plead not guilty to that? Like, sir, can we see your calf? So what's that? How'd that get there? That must have happened while I was in jail.
I drew it when I was in a cell. That was my jail tattoo. I'm in now with the Waffle House posse. In addition to his fresh Waffle House art piece of evidence, Kretchkant has several other tattoos, including a black and white tribute to Insane Clown Posse on his forearm.
Oh, of course, he's a juggalo.
Yeah, he is. Marcus said customers occasionally try to walk out without paying for tattoos, but that usually occurs during spring break, not the holiday season. How fun.
The guy needs a security guard in the shop.
Well, what do you do when they try to run out? You just beat them?
Oh, yeah. Tattoo something across their forehead.
Like what? Like a giant dick? I mean, how do you, if the guy's going to walk out without paying, what do you do to the guy in order to,
I'd remove the tattoo. I'd tackle and remove the tattoo.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. I have to talk to some of my tattoo buddies, see what happens when they get walked out on.
Yeah, see what they do. I mean, there has to be something. It's time now for the not safe for work portion of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. So that means only one thing. If you're at work, turn down your listening device or put in your earbuds if they're not in already. If you're at home and you got the kids or the grandkids around, shame on you. I don't know why you've done that up till now, but get the kiddies out of the room and then put in your earbuds or turn your listening device down low. It's time now for us to get a little naughty on the program. We're going to go to, where are we going to with this one? Well, we're going to prison is where we're going. We're going to Florida again. We're back in Florida.
Of course we are. In prison, though.
In prison. A man is arrested and jailed while wearing the I just got out of prison shirt. I'm just forewarning you, I guess. This one isn't so bad. However...
Does he have to cross out, I just got out, and put I just went back?
Yeah, there's like a little cross out on, he just keeps writing it on his shirt over and over again. A man wearing a shirt declaring I just got out of prison was locked up anew on Sunday after police responded to a 911 call about a male suspect entering a parked car and stealing a wallet. 46-year-old Michael Gordon pleaded no contest yesterday to a misdemeanor obstruction charge and was sentenced to 5 days in custody and fined $500, according to a Florida court record. The criminal court against Gordon stemmed from his refusal to identify himself to deputies probing the reported auto break-in. A portable fingerprint scanner was used to identify Gordon. Wow, that's neat technology.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Who told cops to call my lawyer. I didn't know he had one on retainer. That's nice. Gordon's shirt accurately reflected his most recent scrape with the law. Gordon, who is listed as a transient, was convicted in late July of trespass after he unsuccessfully tried to enter a Dodge van parked in a St. Petersburg lot. Originally charged with attempted burglary, which is a felony, Gordon copped to a reduced misdemeanor count and was sentenced to 115 days in jail, which he had already spent behind bars following his late March arrest. When he posed for a December 3rd booking photo, Gordon had changed out of his prison shirt into his orange jail smock.
His I just got out of prison shirt.
Yep. Gordon's rap sheet includes convictions for burglary, narcotics possession, trespass, theft, prowling, criminal mischief, and obstructing police. And I don't have a picture in his I just got out of prison shirt, Bruiser, but I do have a picture of him for you. There you go. That's the guy who had.
Oh, he's a real winner. He's a winner.
Yeah. He does not have the I just got out of prison shirt on, but.
He looks like the Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah. He kind of looks like a little bit. You got to squint your eyes in order to figure it out. He kind of looks like Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we'll get into the naughty. I forgot I had that one story there.
That was kind of naughty. It involved removing clothes.
Yeah. He had to take his clothes off. So, and then get some cherry wine. That's an old 80s song. Boy, that's a stretch, wasn't it? Okay, now this one, not so much funny as horrid.
Okay.
This is why it's not safe for work. It's terrible. It's a terrible, terrible story. I debated not even reading this one, but it's one of those things. You need to be on the lookout for this man.
Okay.
This man, again, we're in Florida. A lot of debauchery in Florida.
Oh, yeah, it's Florida.
But this isn't good debauchery. This is you need to have it chopped off debauchery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A man is charged with horrid canine crimes.
Oh, yeah. Nope. He needs to pay the price.
The suspect traded vile videos and sought out group sex after allegedly distributing a series of bestiality videos in a private group chat. Yeah, that's why I say he needs it chopped off. A Florida man met with an undercover female detective and sought to arrange group sexual intercourse with the woman and his dog, according to court records. Yeah.
I don't get that thinking. Like, I've never once woken up and looked at Ziggy and went, "Hey, how you doing?" Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
That doesn't, in my mind, I can't process this.
No, I can't either.
This is just disgusting.
Yeah. Police were monitoring a social media public chat room known as Tampa K9 Knot. What? And,
I can't believe there's more than one person involved in it.
Yeah, and knot is in like a knot, like in a rope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Earlier this year, when a cop was contacted by someone using the handle Loverboy in a subsequent private message, the chat room user sent 6 bestiality videos to the undercover. I think he's guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the undercover cops because they have to watch that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. The suspect, an arrest affidavit alleges, subsequently added the woman to a private group chat on the same social media platform, and he proceeded to send multiple bestiality videos in a group chat with other members. According to investigators, the man, identified as 33-year-old Jeremy Mark Lavera, met last week with the undercover agent at a public park along with his German short-haired pointer dog named Remy. Lavera, cops say, sought to return to his nearby St. Petersburg home and engage in group sex with the undercover and his canine. Instead, Lavera was arrested on 15 counts of sexual activity involving animals, as well as 2 other felonies. Each of the 15 charges corresponds to a separate video allegedly provided by Lavera. In some clips, cops say Lavera's dog is seen engaged in vile acts with Lavera and unidentified women.
It's just so wrong. This guy needs to be lock him up and throw away the key.
Throw him under the jail. Lavera was freed from jail last Wednesday evening after posting bond, believe it or not. A judge barred him from having contact with any animals or any chat rooms. According to his LinkedIn page, Lavera works as a security officer with the Tampa-based Hillsborough County Public School System.
Yeah, no. Yeah, get him. Why is he able to bond out? I don't get that.
State records show that he has a security officer license that expires in March of 2025. Lavera also appears to have a statewide firearms license.
This is so wrong.
Yeah. Lavera moved to Florida from suburban New York City, where he graduated from Mercy College with a bachelor's degree in legal studies in general. His LinkedIn entry notes that in 2019, he paid $241,000 for his St. Petersburg home, which he co-owns with his father, who's a retired New York Police Department detective who lives elsewhere in Florida.
So this guy knew what he was doing was illegal. He's from the legal community.
Yeah, he completely knows what he did was wrong.
Yeah, this guy, and he's going to work the system because of all of his connections, I bet. He needs to go to jail for a very long time.
Yep. Yeah, he completely knew what he did was wrong and tried to circumvent the system anyways.
Yeah, and in the process, hurt a very innocent animal or animals.
Mm-hmm. Probably plural. It's never just one.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
It's multiple. Let's move on to our last story today. A man shoots a woman performing oral sex and admits to murdering someone to his father. This is just...
wasn't that good, huh?
No, and believe it or not, we ended here in Minneapolis.
Do you think you went, I'm going to shoot?
Wrong.
Tell you what I was going to shoot.
Oh, Bruiser, come on. We ended here in Minneapolis today, where a man has been charged with murder after killing a woman who allegedly made him feel suspicious while performing oral sex, according to charges. If you're feeling
feel suspicious, yeah.
Yeah, that's not the feeling you're supposed to get after that. It's
has he never had oral sex performed on him where he's like, wow, this feels really good? Like, I don't know if I should feel this good.
I don't know. 25-year-old virgin, I think.
Yeah.
Demarion Kalen Bible, believe it or not, is his last name.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Of Minneapolis is charged with second-degree murder after the deadly shooting near Lake Street early Tuesday morning. According to charging documents, witnesses reported to police that they had heard a gunshot near the courtyard in front of 3023 4th Avenue South around 5:45 a.m., then saw a man walking north from the area along 4th Avenue towards Lake Street. Using surveillance footage, investigators were able to follow a suspect from the Lake Street LRT station, that's light rail transit, to the Nicollet 5th Street station stop downtown. He then went into an apartment building at 95 South 10th Street. Apartment management was able to identify Bible for investigators from a photograph provided by police. Speaking with authorities, Bible initially claimed he was not involved in the shooting, but later admitted that he was once shown the video footage gathered by investigators. He then admitted to shooting the victim, saying she made him feel suspicious while performing oral sex. I still don't know
I don't understand what that means.
I don't know. After the sex act was complete, Bible said he continued to feel suspicious, so he shot her. Gunshot residue was located on her sweatshirt hood, according to police, and he admitted to shooting her from inches away. Once arrested, Bible was given a phone to make calls to his parents, during which he told his dad that he just murdered someone and that he knew he wasn't God, but he had to do it. There's mental.
Yeah, there's some mental illness there.
Mental illness, yeah. A search warrant was executed at his apartment, and a 9mm polymer 80 handgun with no serial number was recovered, along with a .22 caliber rifle. Bible is currently in custody. So there.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets the help he needs in prison.
Yeah.
That's the sad thing is people with mental health issues, even when they're convicted, usually don't get the help they need in prison.
No.
But when somebody says something like this, especially saying, I'm helping God or doing it for God or whatever, they need to be looked at by somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a telltale warning sign right there when somebody said they felt suspicious.
Yeah. He's probably undiagnosed schizophrenic.
Probably, yeah.
And that just brought out the schizophrenic side in him, and he never experienced it before. So
yeah, most definitely.
It's a sad tale.
Yeah. Yep. That'll do it today for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. Bruiser, tell people where you're going to be this weekend.
I have the weekend off. I'm relaxing, but I am training all week long at the AML Training Center here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Come on out, train with me. Go to amlwrestling.com/training and get ready for January 20th. It's my next big show. It's War Games 3, the Benton Convention Center. Arn Anderson will be there. James J. Dillon will be there. And Kurt Angle is going to be our special guest.
Whoa!
Yep.
Nice.
Yep, so I get to work with Kurt.
Nice. That sounds like an awesome card. I'm back up at KNSI this weekend.
2 weeks in a row, huh?
2 weeks in a row, man. Got to make that Skrilla. Got to make that cash. So,
I know the feeling.
Yep. So I'll be up at KNSI this weekend. If you want to hear me ramble on about things that aren't paranormal, like news, weather, sports, stuff like that, tune in between 7 and 9 a.m. Central Time, KNSIRadio.com. That'll do it for today. Again, folks, want you to check out the book that we were talking about today. That book is The Last Applicant, Rebecca Hanover. And I encourage you to go out and get that book. We have a link in the description of this show. And again, it's a creepy tale, man. Just a creepy tale. Lots of disturbing stuff in that book. I want you to check that book out. Rebecca Hanover has knocked herself out with that book, The Last Applicant. So I want you to check that out as well. Tomorrow on the big show, Supernatural News. Thursday, we're talking to Eric Altman. We're going to do some monster watching on Thursday.
Very cool.
All right.
Monster watching.
That's right. So for Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today on the best in true crime podcasting. This has been True Crime Tuesday.